Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Obscure Orations. It is I, Dana, with Taylor and our special guest, V from Splatter Chatter, which is our subject for today. Veronica is going to take us on a trip through her Discord where they talk all things Splatter Chatter, and they have a book of the month and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. So, welcome, V.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
Oh, it's not going to be the last time. I'm positive.
Dana's
I'm
already like,
positive.
you're always coming back.
I'm excited.
Well, you may even want to come on next week. We have a lady. Our guest next week is a lady who owns a haunted wedding venue. How amazing is that?
I love that. Local?
I'm not sure where she's located. I never asked, but we'll find out next week.
It never even occurred to me.
Although, we do have to take a road trip to your neck of the woods soon, V.
Oh.
I found an abandoned psychiatric hospital in Elviston that's reportedly haunted. Elviston is like away from London.
Ooh. Were you right? You guys are definitely down here. Pick me up. I'll go. That'd be fun. We can do like haunting, like ghost hunting videos.
There we go.
Yes. That'd be so fun.
That'd be awesome.
All of us are sitting there. We're like, okay, Ghost, you can go ahead and just have me. We're not runners.
I'm ready.
I would be the fat kid that died on the stairs.
I wouldn't be that far.
I'd be on the floor. Tell my family I love them.
We'd be like 4 steps ahead of you, up on them, going, "You can make it. We promise you can. Leave me. Leave me."
Yeah. So we'll have to talk more about that. So anyway, V, tell us about Splatter Chatter Discord.
Ooh, okay. Let's do some backstory. So, I had a very traumatic thing happen to me at the beginning of this year. And my way of coping was, you know what? Let's see if I can like drown myself in reading. Let's see if I can escape the shitty world I
Healthy
live in.
coping mechanism. My therapist says so.
Yeah. I'm like, let's try to escape this world for a bit and just kind of, get this mind going. So I found Karen at the time, like her and we talked quite a bit, but not as much as we do now, obviously. But for some reason, it was her that I chose. I'm like, I think this is the right person that could help me like run this. And then I messaged her one day. I'm like, did you ever think about expanding your brand? She's like, what do you mean? So I'm like, do you want to partner up and maybe start like a book club? I didn't really know what it was going to be at first, right? So I'm like, I just figured her and I were going to do something together. And right away, she's like, I'm so down. So I'm like, oh, perfect. So I picked right. And then we started with, I think it was maybe only like 10 people. And then word of mouth happened and it just blew up into now a community with over, I think we're at like over 110 people in the Discord.
Wow.
And it's growing, and my little distraction has turned into like something really awesome. But I'm really grateful because it was also another step to help indie authors to show their work, to support them. Like I do a lot of videos. Like I started posting on my TikTok in October. Like I started actually reviewing stuff. But I was like, I want to do a little bit more. I want more people to see it. Like, especially that was when I met James and he was very new at the time. That's when he had like his first book out. So I'm like, I feel like reviews are good, but I want to do more. So then that's when Splash Chatter came. And that name is all credit to Karen because I am not good with picking names. So
it is such a good name. Like you hear Splatter Chatter and you're like what?
Oh
yeah.
Oh,
I would say
hell?
without even
Oh hell yeah.
I would say without even knowing what it is, you're just kind of like, it's such a catchy, simplistic name that you're immediately like, I wanna go. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do there, but I want to do stuff.
So
Yeah.
for me, when I think you first posted that you had opened the Discord and you called it Splatter Chatter, I automatically went to the Terrifier movies.
Ooh, I love that. That's a good compliment. Yeah.
And then and I'm telling Norm, who doesn't live in my world, I swear. I'm like, and they've got the third one's coming out at Christmas, and he's like,
What are we doing on Christmas?
he's like, scary movies come out in October. I'm like, no, they don't. They come out at Christmas because they're gifts to me.
That's fantastic. I like that.
We need to protect Norm at all times.
Yes.
He is such a delicate flower.
Yeah. No, I love it. Like Karen, we'll give her props. I feel like I came up with the name. I can't even remember. I can't even think of what I came up with, but it was not as good. And I'm pretty sure that was like her first pick was Splatter Chatter. And I'm like, done. You're not doing nothing else. You're just done. So she's the tech savvy one. Like she will, anytime that there's a channel that needs to be open, anytime anything in the server's an issue, then like that's all Karen. So she does the Discord side of it, and then I'll pretty much do like I'll do the picks for the month, what we vote on, and I will do my best to recruit people. I make the videos for the Discord, so we kind of have a good balance of what we both do, and it works well together. Like I couldn't ask for a better partner.
I would say you guys are really you guys really compliment each other.
Yes.
So well.
She definitely
because like
she's the more calm and collective one where I'm just like that. Like
I would say she's right there immediately. Like obviously I lurk mostly and there was like hello. And then I disappear. But then I still see like how interactive she is and how quick she is with doing things where she's like, oh yeah, you guys are right, that's a really good idea for a channel, and she's already run off and made it, where it's like, damn, she passed. Like people are like the day, because Dana and I had talked about it, where it's like, oh, do you think V would let us post the podcast in there? She's like, oh yeah, I think she would, just message her. So I messaged you. And then when you said yes, went and put it into there. And Karen was immediately like, oh my God, I didn't even think I should make a thread just for podcasts. Like, all I did is like, damn.
Yeah, because there's another podcast on your Discord, horror movies and shit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I've because he goes live on Friday nights and I watch a lot of his lives.
Mm-hmm. Jim's actually a really nice guy. We just kind of met. So if you've noticed, the horror talk, which is like the movie guys and gals, and then the book talk world have kind of meshed. Like we're kind of meshing. Yep. It's kind of nice. So Jim was one of the first guys that actually like talked to us, and at first we didn't know what he was, right? Because he doesn't really now he promotes his podcast more, but in the beginning it was like we all thought he was just like this another book talker, and then we started seeing his content, and then he's like, no, I do movies. We're like, oh. He's like, I do a podcast. I'm like, oh. So he's definitely
the light bulb keeps getting blinking as it more and more comes together. Like, oh,
got a whole string of lights up there.
So we do, like, Karen and I will both support him. Like, you know, we see his like lives and everything. I've been on his podcast once. And
yes, I watched.
Yeah, like he's actually really involved in like books and stuff, because like in our Discord he'll talk in the reading room and he'll just be like, oh well, this is the book I'm reading, this is the book I'm reading. He actually just messaged me earlier this morning saying that he may have offered my name to an author to kill me off just so I can read his book. I'm like, what? So apparently an author is going to kill me off and all I have to do is read his book, so I'm okay with that.
Like,
well, that's nice.
Yeah. So it's nice that we have that support from like the other side of horror talk. You know, like I know Chuck is another big like name. I don't know if you guys have seen him around. I share a lot of his stuff, and like he also supports like the book talk world and everything. So it's nice to have that blend of those guys, because at the end of the day, whether it's movies or books, we're still talking about really extreme stuff, right? So why not blend the two worlds together? And then there's a couple gamers too that are kind of like mixing in the mix there, and I'm like, why not? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It makes for a good diversity in your splatter chatter community, just because you have a lot of people. I think it's one of those things where it can be isolating to a certain extent, where you're like, oh well, I don't like, some people aren't into reading because they're not strong at it, they just don't enjoy it. Some people, like my one cousin and actually my bestie, are two people I had never heard of this before them, but they can't really meditate because when they close their eyes, they visualize nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's just, it's, see, and for them, I say for them, they're like, I wish that I could visualize something, but they're like, I don't see anything. Like when my bestie told me, I'm like, what do you mean you see nothing? She's like, I close my eyes and I see darkness. I'm like, but like, if I tell you to picture a pencil, she's like, no.
Really?
No, I can't do that either.
You can't, like, if you close your eyes and you, like, if someone were to take you on a guided meditation or were reading to you, you wouldn't be able to visualize or see any of it happening in your head. Oh my God, you're all freaks.
When I went and saw Adrian, one of the things that she does to get you into the frame of being that you need to be in, she says, close your eyes and imagine a picnic table with a red ball sitting on it. Oh, fuck that. Think I could think of what a picnic table looked like? You'd think I'd never been in the fucking park in my whole life. I'm like,
you're like, what's a picnic table?
She's like, okay, just stop.
Pretty yourself.
She's like, you look like you're in pain trying to do this. I'm like, why can't I picture what a picnic table looks like? Like, if you tell me what to imagine, I can't do it. But if I'm reading a book, like when I read James Well of Torment, I saw that whole fucking thing played out in my mind as I read it.
Okay.
It's like I saw the characters. I knew the actors that were playing the characters when they make it into a movie. The whole 9 yards.
See, you're in charge of your own.
Yes. Yeah.
I was going to say that's interesting to me. The fact that, like, if someone's telling you basically what to picture and like describing it to you, you can't do it. But if you are reading it, you can clearly see it. That's fascinating to me, because I know. Trying to remember, I think my bestie had said the same thing. Like, she was like, I can't picture any of it. She's like, I don't have a little movie going on in my head. Like, if she's seen a movie, then she'll see the movie, and that's what she sees. So she absolutely hates reading with a passion. And then, like I said, my cousin was like, yeah, I can't picture things. She's like, it's just darkness. She's like, thoughts will go through. She's like, but that's it. Like, it's just darkness and echoey in there. I'm like, meanwhile, you tell me to picture a picnic table. I'm like, okay, well, there's 5 knots in the different boards. It's about this tall. I can see the grains of wood.
There's like teenagers that have written like, J plus. Yeah. I picture it. Yeah. And the little tiny in the middle.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say, yeah. And it's like, and for me, the red ball, I can even hear the sound effects so clearly, is one of the old school dodgeballs.
Oh.
So I can hear that sound as it smacks off of your skin.
That's a good sound. You make contact.
Yep.
Such a peaceful sound.
But like that's how it is for me. Like, I can read, I can meditate, all that stuff. Like, it's very clearly there for me. And I know some people obviously do not have that. We now know Dana lacks that in certain areas, unless reading.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me wonder now if that's why you can write and I can't.
Probably, because for me, when I'm writing, I see it happening in my head. And I'll add this addendum before I say the next part. I'm not crazy. My therapist said so.
Mine too.
Now to continue the thought. For me, I can remember, so I have been into RPing, which is role playing. I've been into that for years now. So what that is, for a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, that's a sexual thing, isn't it?" I'm like, "No, it can be, but no."
Yeah.
Can be.
It's you literally create characters, and then you act them out essentially, and you make stories with it, and you have things happen. You go into different worlds, you do it, that kind of stuff. So back when I started was actually in the Star Wars The Old Republic game. And that is a huge thing on that game. Like you can go to certain areas and all you'll see are chatter going on of people pretending to do actions, and they're being the character. So I can remember writing stuff for it where we were doing guild RPs, and you would have like little side RPs going on with your master in there, like you'd be master apprentice kind of stuff. And we were putting in like fake logs as though you were that character. I can remember talking to my brother at the time. I'm like, oh, well, in my head, I can hear her voice. Like I hear it very clearly. Like I can describe to you what her voice sounds like. It's not mine. I'm not the one writing it. She's literally telling me her story where she's like, okay, this is what happened. This is how it went down. This is what I saw, like these kind of things. And he was like, nope. He's like, that's not, he's like, I just write this. I'm like, okay, so here's the date that it happened. My Sith killed someone and stole their lightsaber, turned it dark sided. And then he's like, and then I write in some like what I think a female would kind of sound like at this point in time in the Sith Empire. I'm like, so you don't hear a voice? And he's like, no, I hear nothing. He's like, I just think of words.
Yeah.
Oh, in my mind, it's a full on voice.
So I'm creative, you're creative, but we're creative in different aspects.
Yes, because you amaze me. Like I can't do the art thing. Nope, this doesn't, like in here, I can see the thing that I want.
Yeah.
But to put it on the paper will look absolutely nothing like it. And then I get mad because I'm like, why aren't you doing it?
I'm like,
why aren't you?
Yeah, why doesn't it look like hers?
Exactly, where I'm sitting there looking and going, why are my stick people's legs uneven? And why does it suddenly have a penis? Like,
you know what I think about, V? Remember that night we went to paint night at the Dominion House?
Yes. Those are fun times. Okay, I love painting with you. That was fun.
She's sitting beside me, and we're following the instructions, and we're painting, and she leans over. She's like, "Okay, Picasso."
It was so good, and I'm looking at mine like, I must be drunk.
At the moment you're like, that's gonna be my excuse. I was drunk.
Yeah.
I'm just here for the wine.
But people did so well, and Dana was one of them. She did great, and I'm like, I'm glad you were here. It was a good time.
Like, to me, the difference of having the different creative angles is what makes the community better. Just because, like I was saying, you have people who can't visualize things when they don't see it in a movie form, or some who can only see it when they read it. And then there's some who can see it when they read it, then they see the movie form and are mad because they don't match up.
Yeah.
They did the casting wrong. You're like, I have the perfect cast in mind and you didn't do it. You didn't listen to me. But to have all of them come together, and then like you have video games where like there's some I've sent to Dana where I'm like, oh my God, this looks scary as fuck. Like I'm not a person, like I don't enjoy horror movies because they scare the crap out of me. But you put me
Why
in a
are we friends?
I don't know. That was my question the other day when you're like, I don't like Sigourney Weaver. I don't like Julia Roberts. I'm like, I've never seen Practical Magic.
Like,
I'm like, I don't understand this.
You're like, I'm leaving.
It's like somehow we're still friends, even though we're just like, what the fuck is wrong with you to each other?
I really love you.
It's like, clearly I must. But
fucking lovable, all right?
yes, damn right. But like, you put me in a horror game, and I fucking love that shit. Like, there's the game. It's called the hell is it? The one is called Little Nightmares. I think it's the name of it. Little Nightmares and Little Nightmares 2. I haven't played number 2. I have number 1. Haven't beaten it. But it's one of those games like you play a little alive doll and you're trying to escape, I think it is, and try and not get caught by the giant human guy. And he's like chasing you everywhere. You're trying to hide. You're trying to climb things, swing across things, avoid cats because they're fucking huge and they want to kill you. And it's one of those, like, you can feel your anxiety spike as you're like, fucking run, you little bastard. You're like, okay, the music makes it creepy. Then you have like the games that I've told you about that I'm still like, Dana, you need to get these because we can play these together, and they're horrors and you will hear me scream. But then I will continue playing. But anything by Supermassive, theirs are 100% choice driven games. And V, I highly suggest if you want to ever play something that's choice driven and it's like being in a horror movie, play anything by Supermassive.
Yeah.
They're the ones who did Until Dawn, Man of Medan, bunch of other ones. And they're just, you go in, you have to make choices, and your choices really count, because if you fuck up, you die. And they're dead. So you're like, oh shit. You can have a plethora of different endings. One where everyone survived, all the way down to one where no one survived.
I don't like a happy ending.
I'd say even when you try to make them to survive so that you can get that damn achievement, I fuck it up every time where I'm like, God damn it!
I can see it, me throwing the controller on the ground. God damn it, I was just disemboweled.
And that's legitimately it. Like, there's some of them when you're just like, oh, that was a gruesome death as you were pulled apart in 2 pieces. Keep playing.
Okay, that I like.
I would say, and what I love, and if you're like me at all, V, what you'll love about the games is that they're based off of true things.
I love that.
Until Dawn is based off of I always call them Winnebagos, and I'm now trying to not call them that.
Wendigo?
Thank you. The fact that you knew the fact that you knew.
That's why we're friends.
Wendigo. It's definitely got to be a Wendigo. Obviously, it's related to Winnebagos. But it's what I kept calling them because I could never remember the name. And Mama just lied. She's like, that is not what that is. I'm like, I know, but I can't think of its name. She's like, what are you? I'm like, I don't know. But you know what I mean. But so they talk about like the Native American, I think they refer to them as cryptides now.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the true stories of like the Man of Medan, a ghost ship that came out of nowhere that they were like, what the fuck happened here? It's been gone since World War II.
The Mary Celeste.
It's like, this is kind of weird. And then what the hell is the second most recent one was about one of the major serial killers, one of the major first serial killers in American history. And it's the truth about like
H.H. Holmes.
That's the one.
I know my
girl.
serial killers.
And you go to a place that's built to be exactly the same replica of his hotel.
Oh.
And you get to, at one point in the beginning of the game, you actually go to his hotel that was there. And you're one of the couples that gets murdered.
Ooh, fun!
And like, you get to watch the sliding walls and all that. And for me, it always sparks looking more into this where I'm like, okay, I can remember pausing several times and Googling. I'm like, what the fuck? And reading about it, I'm like, holy shit, this place is real. Because it was literally, he went through and he made the sliding walls. He did this. He sold, this is the part that still boggles my mind to this day. He literally sold human skeletons of his victims to the university up the street from him for money.
Whoa.
It's like,
hey man, you have to make a living. Nobody at the hotel was paying their bill when they checked out. Think about that.
He's like, I'm gonna keep all their stuff. and then I'm going to put them in a vat of acid. I'm going to clean up their skeletons, and I'm going to sell it down to the university. And they're like, "Oh, thank you."
Okay, so I haven't been on the Discord since we voted on Book of the Month. And I have to ask because now I'm very curious. One of the separate channels, is it by any chance author driven where they can go in and kind of say, "Hey guys, I have this book that's coming out on this day," type thing?
Like a promo area.
Yep. We have off the top of my head, we have a link channel where we can, you can promote anything. I do believe Karen did put a separate one for authors, like to promote. We do have a channel for ARC announcements, and I think that goes with like a new release. So an ARC reader is you get an advanced reader copy, right, of a book before.
Is that what ARC stands for?
I was just about to ask what that meant.
Yeah, it's an advanced reader's copy. So usually what an author will do is they'll, sometimes they have like a core group of people that will read it beforehand, but sometimes not. So some people do actually have trouble looking for ARC readers because it's tricky, right? Because not everybody does follow through with it. Usually an author can give you like 3 weeks before release date, or sometimes like they just throw it like 2 days before release date, right? But yeah, normally like we have a channel there for ARC because we do have a bunch of authors in there. So they'll promote their book, like this is coming out, this, and this. If you guys can please, anybody who wants to ARC read, email me type of thing. So we do have that. I don't know how clear it is. I think it's in the ARC announcement page or channel, I think.
Yes, I was going to say there's a channel, that's what I was just looking at. Also, side note, 124, that's how many people you have in your server.
Ooh.
Look at her go.
Expecting that much. Right? The way that it's become just a community, like people just, they're like, we're slow readers. We don't know if we'll read. I'm like, you don't have to read the book pick of the month if you don't want to. You know what I mean? Like if you just want to go in there, you want to promote books, you want to talk about books you're reading, like you want to find friends. I'm like, that's what it is. Like it's exceeded well beyond a book club. Like it's definitely a community, and people just kind of helping each other out. That's why we tell, like, Karen and I will, like, we don't like, her and I don't promote individually in the server, just because we want to make sure that authors and creators can promote themselves type of thing, right? Because I don't want it to be like, if I promote this person, then I have to this one. I don't want it to be like a whole jealousy thing. So that's why we make it open to everybody. Like if you have a podcast, if you do arts and crafts, like if you have an Etsy shop, whatever it is that you do, go ahead and promote yourself. Go ahead and promote yourself, because somebody somewhere will want that, right? Somebody will want crafty stuff. Somebody will want like a new gamer buddy. I'm pretty sure Tamara is one of our content creators in there. She just promoted her gaming channel. I think it's the same as her book talk channel, but what she does is she goes live on TikTok, and then like you can see her, and then you can see like on the bottom
the game she's playing.
Yeah. So that's why we try to tell people, like, it doesn't have to be books. Like, whatever you guys do on the side, you want to have promotion. You want people to, see it, buy it, read it, whatever. Go ahead and promote yourself. I just rather promote people on my channel because that's how, you know what I mean? But in the Discord, no, I don't want people to take it as a favoritism thing.
Yeah, which is a smart way to do it, just because you're one of the co-creators of it, you and Karen both. It's so easily, and I mean, people would be so quick to be like, oh, well, she talked up that book, but she didn't talk mine. She mustn't like me at all. Where it's like, well, no, it might just be that you might not have read the book. You might not have gotten to it yet. You might not know that person. The person might be your friend, kind of thing, where you're like, okay, like there could be a plethora of reasons why you didn't get to it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not easy getting caught up on the books that you guys review, because like I it's been what, 6 months since I've been introduced to the genre, and roughly. I got my Kindle in March, so I hadn't read, and like I was listening to your reviews and watching the TikToks, but I didn't read my first splatterpunk book until I got my Kindle. And then it was like, and I have this like, I've got all these books. They're scattered about my house where like the one book's like a list of books that I'm reading, want to read, authors. The other book is people that owe me money. The other book is cross stitches I'm working on. It's terrible. Like they're all over the place. So it's taken me a long time to get through the books that you recommended. And I'm a fast reader. Like I was banging off a book or two a day.
Yeah,
which speaks volumes about how fast you are, because I know, like for me, I just started this past week. I'm proud of myself for it because I've actually started reading before going to bed each night now. But even for me, I was timing myself last night because I was curious. I have the audiobook of the book that I'm reading currently, and I was like, okay, I'm curious. I timed myself as I read through the chapter. Then I stopped the timer. I was like, okay, so it took me whatever, it was like 33 minutes to read the chapter. I'm like, all right, so that's about a page every 2 minutes. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, this is why I said I'm not, I'm probably, I must be at about the average speed of someone or slightly faster, because the chapter, when on normal speed, is 38 minutes for the narrator to read it. I'm like, okay, so I'm slightly above that. I'm like, okay, so I'm slightly above average, but still a hell of a lot slower than you and Mama. Like, Mama is, depending on the book, I'm sure, like if she was reading the one I'm trying to work my way through, she probably would have had like 5 chapters done. Been like, why haven't you done this yet? Come on.
Yeah,
Heard of speed reading.
Like, but some of the books too, they're small. Like Toxic Love was a very fast read. One, it was fucking amazing. It was so gruesome. I loved it. The whole premise of the story. I was like, oh, I love this. And then my husband's like, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, married me, honey.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so, she married you. It's too late.
And then so James had sent me a copy of Well of Torment before it got released on May 31st. So I read it and like 4 hours. Took me like 4 hours to read it, and then I sent him a message. I'm like, I don't even like Western, but that was fucking amazing. He's like, you're done? Like, I just emailed it. But yeah, it was, but that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes these books are so captivating. You gotta, you read the whole thing because you gotta know how it ends.
Especially if you get a book that has like really short chapters. Ooh, you just flying through that for some reason.
It makes you feel like you're achieving more, even though you may not actually be making a huge dent in it. Like in books, I want to say like the 2 authors that I can think of that do it constantly, where it's like 1 to 2 pages per chapter, is Dan Brown for like the Da Vinci Code and all that kind of stuff. And the other one is a main guy. Why can't I think of his name? What is your name? Why can't I think? James Patterson.
Yes.
Like, he's notorious, mind you. His drives me insane because he'll literally just pick up wherever he left off in the next chapter, just with the next sentence. Or it's like, oh yeah, she shut the door. On the other side of the door, new chapter. I'm like, it's not how that happens. It's like, stop that. It's like, just continue it and have a normal length chapter then. But when you have those short ones.
On the Discord, again, is there a, what do you guys call them, channel?
Yeah.
Is there a channel that lists all the books that you guys have either read, talked about, voted on? Like, is there basically a reading list channel?
Oh, that's a cheeky idea.
That's actually a really good idea because I don't think we have that. I know what Karen wanted to do is like her own personal. She's actually buying like every book that we vote on, and she's like on her bookshelf, she's putting like a special shelf.
Okay.
Oh.
To have a channel of, I know we do like if anybody wants to request a book. So I try to be as diverse as possible, but I have to expand that a little bit more because there are a lot of books, but also like I don't want you guys to buy everything, right? So I try to keep it on KU, keep it cheap, and keep it free. We do have a channel that you can request, like, hey, I think this one, can we use this person? I can't remember what it's called, the channel. But I like your idea because it's more organized.
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice to have that. Because I definitely help sometimes because it's hard to, try to list. Like next month is Canadian indie horror all month.
Oh.
And to find indie authors, Canadian, like Splatterpunk and Extreme, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to talk to Karen about that because it would be a nice idea to have that. The only problem is a lot of things get drowned, right? Because we have so many people in the server. It's hard to like, we can pin stuff, but then people are like, where is it? So
I would say what you could do though, because I know it's all about the settings, you could make a channel where only you and Karen have access to post things in it.
Yes.
So that way then you could actually have, because you have like the book nominations, which would have like all of the books from the past that you guys have kind of talked about. So you could do another channel where it's you and Karen literally just list all of the books and nothing else gets posted in there. So it literally just gives you two the access to it. So that way, anytime that people want to be like, oh, hey, what books have you recommended over the past 3 years? They can literally just scroll up to the top and just search all the way down. They can take screenshots of it if they want and be like, okay, got the book, got the book, got the book, got the book.
Cut and paste and make a checklist so that like
exactly
once you finish the book, you check it off.
Yep.
That's a really good
that
idea.
Way, I would say, yeah, because then that way it doesn't get buried. Because I know that's how my friends who have the servers on there and they use it for the full server purposes, they have the channels where they're like, okay, only I can post in here. So I post things and it's literally just information to let the server know about it so they can't interact with it. Like they could put hearts to it if they wanted to, kind of thing. So they could react, but they can't actually post in there. So then that way nothing's going to get cluttered. You're not going to lose it. It's going to stay focused on here's the book reading list. And then people can have access to it whenever they want. They can just go look at it and be like, oh, hey, I forgot about this book. I didn't even think I needed to add this. And they can add it to their KU or to their Amazon wish list, however they want to do it, kind of thing.
I'm gonna talk to Karen about that because it's a good idea. Because there are people that they want to read, like if it doesn't get picked that month, they still want to read it, and they forget.
Exactly.
And I forget. I forget all the time. I'm like, I don't know.
There's
I'm like, I don't know.
There's 5 bajillion million books out there that we're all like, oh, you know what I need to get? More. What ones do you need? I don't know, all of them.
There's so many. I'm like, oh man.
I want to be Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and I just want to go walking through the library and be like, oh.
They're all there.
And just grab them as I want to go.
So now I love the idea of the books being on KU and being free. But like for instance with James, I know his books are on KU, but you can also purchase them. Yes. And again, he when we had our chat, he let us know that like literally you couldn't buy a penny candy with what you make on selling one book on Amazon. But I always feel better if it's somebody that I've spoken to, I know, like Len M. Ruth, and James, 2 authors that we've had on our show. I've paid for their books just to support them, and then gone and done my review on Goodreads when I'm done. And I don't, I mean, but yeah, I do have a lot of books on in my library from Kindle Unlimited that are on the list of books that I should be reading.
So KU is very convenient for the reader, right? Because like I
Yes.
have, and like obviously like we can't buy every single book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it would be great to. When I can, I try to support like from the author itself, but like you guys know, all of us living in Canada, the exchange rate is insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite authors is Daniel J. Volpe, and he's in the States. And anytime that I buy off of him, I am already getting ready to spend just $30 alone in shipping.
Yep.
Not including whatever else I buy, how many books or whatever. Like the one time he was really nice and there was a book that wasn't shippable to Canada, I let him know about it. He actually sent it anyways because he's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't click the Canada as well. So he sent it to me for free.
Oh.
Really nice. But not everybody's like that, right? Because obviously they're making a living off of this or whatever. He's a little bit more of like a well-known author, so I guess it was easier for him to like send it to me for free like that. But like it's hard for us Canadians because the shipping cost is so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of authors will not ship to Canada, even if it's like if it's one book, because the book may be $14 and plus 20 shipping for one book. Like I understand, that's why a lot of the times like they'll send like the EPUB books, they'll send me like a link and stuff. And I mean with Amazon, they obviously don't get as big of a profit back. But if you stay on that page, I can't remember how long, but if you stay on that one page for a certain amount of time, that's how you're getting paid. Like that's how the author is getting paid, is by page count, right? So I can't remember how long you have to stay on there, but if you're a fast reader, I don't know how well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so if you're a fast reader, you're not
Dana's
helping
like,
the author. Way to go, Dana.
I'll go back and reread the books.
She's like,
that's why sometimes like I know there was an author that I used to talk to a lot. Like we kind of had a falling out, but that's what she taught me. She said, a certain amount of time, blah blah. So to be nice sometimes, like I had already read her book and it wasn't getting a lot of traction, so I would just open up my Kindle and just kind of swipe, not read it because I already read it, right? Just kind of swipe. Wait a minute, swipe, just to give her some kind of, and I guess it worked. I don't know how much. Obviously, I don't think like it was a ton of money, but it was something, and she was grateful for it. So if I really like it, I'll cheat with KU. But
yeah, she wasn't getting that vacation to the Maldives. Yeah, and that's something I can go back and do with James's books. Because what I will do is I'll open the book, do 5 stitches, turn the page, do 5 stitches, turn the page. So like I will read while I cross stitch.
Multitasking.
Like sometimes I'll TV or something, or like I'll be reading something else. I'm like, oh, gotta switch, and then I'll just do it just to give them something, right? Because I understand like it doesn't do a lot, but then again, like on the reader side of it all, like we can't. I mean, I know I can't buy all the books, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I try to do my best to, make their reviews. Now that I'm on Facebook, I don't, sometimes I'll repost like my TikTok video, or I'll just like snap a picture of the book. And then I always make sure I do my Goodreads. And I'm trying to get better on Amazon because Amazon's the actual place where they're selling them, right? So
Right.
I know some authors are like, I'd love for the Amazon reviews as well. So I'm trying to remember that because I'm not that great with Amazon reviews. And they also take a little bit. Like you submit it and it takes like days for it to be like, just let it happen right away. Like I don't understand.
It's so stupid.
Like you can review it once it's already posted, but
so I think if I start doing that, I'm gonna have to get my own Amazon account because my Kindle is associated with Norm's Amazon account. So the one day I go to open my Kindle and I'm looking at my library. I'm like, what the fuck? There's like a cookbook. And amongst all the splatterpunk, it's like a bread machine cookbook. I'm like,
was gonna say that kind of sounds good if it was like the splatter cookbook, because there's a couple of those, and I'm like,
Right.
So I'm like looking at it, and I do tend to talk to myself. Like Norm works from home, but he's in this room and I'm out in the living room, so I'll talk to myself. So I'm looking at my Kindle. I'm like, where the fuck did that book come from? Like this, right? And he comes out into the kitchen and he's making a coffee, and I'm like, still like stunned. He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I got some bread making book on my Kindle." He goes, "Oh yeah, I bought that." So yeah,
Kindle.
I think maybe I should probably get my own my own Amazon account.
You're like, I might need to change this up.
Amazon's like, splatter pumpkin bread. This is one strange guy.
Another really good site for cheap books is Godless. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or
No.
have seen it.
Godless or goth?
God, G-O-D. God.
Good question. I hadn't thought she said goth, but now after you said it, I'm like, maybe she did.
So that's run by one person. It's this huge website run by one person. Those are only digital books though. So like, go on a shop, it's free, and then like you pay, and then you get like links after, and you can send them to your Kindle and stuff. But some of those books are so cheap, they're perfect. Like I think those go directly to the author. Don't quote me on that. I don't know how like that revenue works. I also don't know if it's a lot, but it's something. So like you get famous names, like Judith Sonnet is a huge name in the community. And you know, one of her books on Amazon is like 20 something bucks. On Godless is $2.
Damn.
Oh yeah. So that's another really good resource. I know Drew's the guy's name. He works by himself. I think the app actually got taken down just because, you know, Godless and all that stuff. Like it's very
fuck
it's
me.
the hard stuff, right? Like you see those crazy covers. Amazon bans them all, right? So like if you see a really gnarly cover that's like very exposed and like maybe sexual or whatever, Amazon will ban that book, and they'll let the author not put it on there. That's when they go to Godless, and like, you know, because Godless accepts anything. They put it for a lot cheaper, but I think the author does everything. So like they have to upload it, they have to format it, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Amazon, I think, helps to do that at times if you don't want to do it at home. So definitely you check out God with $20. You guys can come out with like, depending how cheap they are, you can come out with like 20 books. Cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap. So
Dana's like,
Well, yeah. But no, I'm gonna go probably this week. I'm going to order the Spirit Crusher books and Well of Torment, the actual book, so that I can have them on my shelf instead of just on my Kindle. Because like when it's something that I really enjoyed, and I fucking loved the Spirit Crusher books.
They're
I
good.
mean, love them.
Good.
So yeah, I would like hard copies of those.
It's good to have those trophies.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what people are like, oh, you save so much with Kindle. And I'm like, do you really? Because I always buy them.
I'll send it to James. Can you autograph these, please?
I was just going to say, it's one of those things of other people who aren't readers don't understand why you want to keep the books afterwards. I'm like, yeah, but I can literally point at my shelf. I'm like, I read that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. It's not the same when you're like, oh yeah, here I read this one, I read that one, I read this one. No.
And the Kindles don't even have like color, so you see like the black and white. You're like, oh,
yeah.
Keep a lookout because Splatter Chatter Volume 1 is going to be on Godless, and it is going to be as a paperback also.
I was just going to bring that up and say, so because I think, if I'm not mistaken, you announced it on TikTok, I want to say like a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. I've lost track of time.
Yeah, sometime down there.
I was going to say sometime in the recent past.
Yeah.
You made the announcement. Now, for any of our listeners who don't know, the Splatter Chatter actually put together, because she's wonderful. Peter's like, you know what we can do in here? We have enough authors. Bam! Let's write something. And I can't remember how many ended up actually doing it. Like, was it like 15, 20 authors?
We had quite a bit, but then life happened with a bunch of them. So there was a lot that had to go out of it. I think we're left with either 9 or 10.
That's still a good amount.
Oh, yeah. They're fairly strong. Like, and this all happened as a fluke because the one day, Timothy King and Z Martin are they're the two guys in charge of all this. They were talking in the author channel, because in the author channel, like, it's only authors. You can discuss like book ideas, whatever they want. Karen and I are never really in there just because it's an author thing. They can do their own thing.
Like, we made it. You just take it.
Yeah, like, you guys are in charge of it. Good luck. But they were both talking, and like, they had 2 stories they submitted to something, to like other anthologies, and they didn't get accepted. And they were happy about their stories. So they're like, wouldn't it be funny if we just made up our own like anthology here? And then that joke turned into an actual thing because they tagged Karen and I. We have like a separate channel, the 4 of us. We just talked ideas, and I'm like, yeah, like, whatever you guys need. So the best part is it's all in house. Like, we have all the authors in the Discord. We have all the editors in the Discord. Edits are actually happening right now. Brooke Lockman, her name's Gore Whore Author on TikTok.
Oh, yes, I follow her. What?
She
Obscure Orations follows her.
Yeah, she's a fantastic artist. Like, she does like a bunch, like, she draws, she does sculptures. Like, she actually, this little guy right here, she made for me. It's a shot glass, but if you look, it's like a skin texture, and she has like staples and stuff in it. Oh,
That's
yeah.
so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
She's done a lot of art covers in the community, so we just figured, I mean, you're the best one for it. So we actually we do have our cover and our wrap ready. We just haven't shown anybody yet, so that'll be coming.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
It's really exciting. So we should have it. It should be published July 31st. Usually, because Godless is just like a digital site, I think we're going to try to have it on Godless first for anybody that wants to read it on Kindle. And then we are going to hopefully have, like, if everything works out, we'll have the paperbacks by July 31st. And it's a charity anthology. So all 100% proceeds go to a charity. Oh, you guys are getting the first, actually. I can't remember the actual name, but it's like a suicide awareness one. So
yes,
yeah, we all voted on it. Everything in the Discord is always a vote. It's never Karen or my last word, unless it's a tie. Then we've never had that, so I don't know what we're gonna do. But I feel like that's the only time where Karen and I would kind of maybe figure something else out to, like,
flip a coin at that point. You're like,
yeah,
all right.
But as far as everything, like, everything is voting, and yeah, I'm excited about this because we're in the editing process and we're reading some of these, and I'm like, wow, the authors all voted the anthology to be a free-for-all, so pretty much write whatever you want.
Anything goes. Nice.
Karen and I only really suggested, I'm like, if you guys want to kill us off in a really great way, do it. And so far, some of them have, and I'm like, wow, that's very creative.
The moment where you're sitting there, you're like, I get to die so many times. This is amazing.
Yeah, like Karen, we read one author story, and Karen actually read it, and she messaged me. She's like, "Did you read this yet?" I'm like, "No." So I read it, and she's like, "Not a good way to go." I'm like, "Probably. I don't know." It's kind of fun. I like how, like, it was like a whole community that came up with that. You know what I mean? Like, and then they all decided, like, it's something fun, so it's gonna be charity right away. Yes. Right away. That was never a question. That was never like a discussion of like, oh, like, are we gonna get paid? No, it was all charity.
I was gonna say, it did not miss a beat, because I remember I had seen the Discord notification, ping, 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 ping. It's like, what the hell is going on today? Why is it so active? It's like, normally I get a few, and they're like different channels, and this one's like ding, 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 ding. Like, what is happening? I go in there and it's like, oh yeah, there's like the message from you. Hey guys, if you want in on this, we've started a new area with the anthology. It's just for the authors and people who are involved, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden it's just like, scroll down slightly, open it up. I'm like, there's like 50 or 70 different comments. I'm like, what the fuck happened in here? Like,
it gets so busy in that Discord sometimes that I just take a step back. I'm like, if you guys need me, just at me, because it's become something bigger, right? So it's hard to kind of keep up with everybody.
Or to say it's awesome to see, because in a lot of cases, and I know Dana won't know about this, and I don't know if you know much about the Discord, like in general, the app and all that before. I've been in numerous Discord servers, and it is so hard to get human interaction between people, because people come in and they're just there. Like, and if you looked at the inactive versus the active, you'd be like, okay, there's 5 people who talk, and oh, excuse me. It's one of the things that I noticed with a lot of them that I'd go into. I would go in, and after a few days, I'd start being active and talking, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, this is the most active this server's ever been." And the people, everyone's kind of coming out and talking. Where you're like, you just got to put yourself out there. But 9 times out of 10, you have these giant ass servers where they're like, "Oh yeah, we have 1,000 people." You're like, okay, and 10 of them speak.
Yeah.
The other 990 are dead silent and are just there. Where it's like, okay, but then yours is so interactive, and with all the different people and in all the different channels. Like, it doesn't matter who it is or what it is. Everyone is pretty well active in it. So it speaks well to you and Karen and what you guys are putting together, because it's actually bringing people together and they're interacting with each other. They're actually talking. And it's like, oh my God, it's okay. We can all be together in here and no one's going to like bother us. And we can all be like, hey, how do you feel about gruesome death? I like it. What about if the skin melts off? Do you like that too? Oh, yeah, okay. We're going to keep talking now.
So I want to talk about the dark side of the Discord.
Oh, okay.
So, I know, I mean, anybody that's ever been on any kind of social media knows that bots are everywhere.
Oh, yes.
And I'm gonna bring something up. So, for Obscure Orations, getting followers is important to us because we would like to go live. But apparently TikTok has this stupid ass rule that you can't go live unless you have so many followers. So here we are, like, whoring ourselves out on TikTok.
Please,
like, literally our hashtag is please follow us. So and so what I do, so I'm the one that's behind the TikTok mostly. Yep. So I will follow everybody from Follow Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And because our follow list is huge compared to our followers list, a lot of shit gets lost. And this is the dark end of the Discord. Some shit went down with some people, and they got banned.
Or so you're talking about the 2 guys and the screenshots and all that?
So, okay, that's exactly what I missed. I have no idea what any of that was about, but I started seeing videos of yeah, you're done off the Discord. I don't even want to follow you anymore. You're an idiot. Like, so I need to know who those people were in case we're following them.
In Splatter Chatter?
No, it was she's talking about you. I would say the 2 authors. They were the 2 guys who had taken screenshots and were sharing pictures of girls back and forth and commenting and all that kind of stuff. And Dana's like, what?
Yeah, that was messy. That is Otis Bateman and Stephen Cooper. There was so Otis Bateman was famous for he's not dead. He is famous for he's
killing them off today.
He's very famous for his Maggot Girl series, which I actually did an ASMR video and I ripped them up.
Yes, you did.
I saw that video.
Dana's like, now it's making more sense.
Well, no, because like I said, I had been absent for a few days and then I come back and it's like the proverbial shit hit the fan and I'm like, the fuck's going on?
That, like, when that happened, it opened up more problems. Like, the drama floodgates just, like, they flew. But, yeah, it was Otis Bateman and Stephen Cooper. After all that controversy happened, they deleted their all their social media. But Otis Bateman is still very active on Goodreads right now and is trying to, like, talk to people through Goodreads. I'm like, have we not learned? Have we just not learned about what's happening? Like,
nope.
They were, I mean, Otis was is a married man, getting a divorce now, but he was being very inappropriate with readers. But also readers were sending married man nudes. So, you know, like, we can't just put blame on one person. We gotta put blame on two, right?
Yep.
And Otis and Steven had a Dropbox. I'm not really sure how Dropbox works, but it doesn't.
I don't even know what that is.
It doesn't save to your phone or something. It's like a secret, like, conversation.
I was going to say, basically, Dropbox is something that you can put files into, and you can have lock codes to it, but you can share it with certain people. So by the sounds of it from the screenshots that I want to, like, what's amazing to me is someone was able to get the screenshots from these two guys' conversations. I'm now wondering if it wasn't one of the wives who got them, or was like,
I don't know 100% sure, but I think it was his actual daughter.
He had his child.
Was very active in this whole thing started because he had posted that he was in a relationship with somebody else, but everybody knew he was married, right? And his daughter was actually in the comments in that post, and she was like, oh, that's funny, Otis, you are married but yet you start a new relationship. So people were attacking her. And then finally she's like, I'm his daughter, so I'm allowed to. And everybody just shut up, right? So
suddenly everyone's like,
yeah. So I don't think it's been confirmed 100%, but I think that it was his daughter because he was living with them, his wife and his daughter, when all this was going down. He was talking to all these women. He was living with his wife and his daughter. So
that makes more sense.
Dirty dog.
I have a feeling that it was her. So, but I mean, I've heard not so great things about Otis in the past, which is why I read one book by him, which was the first Maggot Girl book. I really did like it. I had the other two and I was gonna read them, but then, like, it just got worse. It just got worse. And I'm like, I can't. And then, like, now he's on Goodreads making, like, weird comments to people, and I'm like, what's going on? You're making it worse. But why would you delete your actual social media and you're just on Goodreads now? It's kind of a coward way, but
that's because he got caught, right?
Yeah,
he got caught. So let's disappear, but we'll come back on one platform and just still be the pig that we are, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, because his profile, like, on Goodreads says something like, at first it was like, oh, I'm never going down, blah, blah, blah. And then it, like, a week ago, it switched to a lot of rumors and, like, not real things are spread about me, but I'll come back on top. I'm like, you got caught. What do you mean?
I was going to say,
the lid of the cookie jar literally closed on your hand, sir.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's quite literally screenshots, because I saw a bunch, like, it was all over my TikTok.
It was a ton. And it was
everywhere.
And the girl that exposed him was the one that said, oh, well, he was dating me while he's dating her. And I'm like, what is happening, women? Why are we doing this? Like, he's married. You know, like, I'm with the victim. I really am. Like, you know, like, I never, like, if somebody said, like, obviously that's not, you know, when you're sending news to somebody, obviously you want it to be in between two people, right?
Yeah.
But, like, when you're sending nudes to a married man and this man has already a bad track record in the community, you know, it kind of bothered me a little bit. Like, I'm not saying I'm against anybody, but it kind of bothered me because it's like we're attacking him, which is correct because he's definitely in the wrong here, but we're forgetting why we got here. And we got because inappropriate things were happening on both ends, you know. So I kind of, it kind of opened my eyes a little bit because there were some people that I was actually like close to and I talked to when all this happened and they were involved with him. And I'm like, I gotta look into it. You know, like I don't really like to call it judging, but like I don't want to associate myself with you because if that's what you have to do, that's on you. That's fine. Do what you got to do, but I don't really want to be involved with somebody like that.
Right.
In a way, it gives us content creators like myself, like Karen, you guys, it gives us, it makes us work harder because I'm not going to sell myself for a book. I'm not going to whore myself out or I'm not going to like do things that are against my judgment for that, you know, and that's going to be one. I go around flirting with all these authors, like, you know, especially the married ones. Like there has to be some form of respect on both ways because just as there's predatory men, I have noticed there is some predatory women.
Yeah, there are.
Talks about it. And like, I'm a woman, I'm a girl's girl, yes, but until you do something wrong, like you should be called out as well. You know, like it is what it is. And they're all young girls. Like he's like in his 50s and they're all like in their early 20s. I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Maybe we should get Sam on the podcast so she can give them a little lesson on internet safety.
She's gonna be like, okay, now listen.
Like Sam goes to grade schools and talks about internet safety and predators and that, and then she goes to high schools and she talks about having enough respect for yourself not to send those nudes.
Like again, you know what? Like if that's what you want to do, that's cool. But just know there's a risk, especially with like these big names that just they literally treat you like, oh, all because he's gonna kill me off in a book. You have to show your titties, you know, like no, like there's authors that have asked me to kill me off in a book, and I'm like, okay, but that's it, you know, like I've never done any like other favors, you know. So I'm like,
you're not sitting going click.
Now I'm sitting here going, if I send Stephen King my boobies,
it might work. Send him to Joe too, just in case.
Listen, nobody wants to see my boobies except my husband. And again, my husband's the only one going to see my boobies.
Unless, I mean, let's be honest. Oh, no, you know what? I know two people that she would say yes to. Stephen King being number one.
Oh, Pedro.
There we go. I was going to say, the second one would be Pedro. He wouldn't even be asking. She'd be like,
yeah. I'd be like, woo! I was front row, main floor at concert.
Hey, you're gonna like it, Pedro.
Yeah, you know you want these. Yeah, you do.
It's hard, you know. It's like even with me, like everybody's like, "Oh, you know, you're a big name, blah blah blah," which that still sounds weird, but it's like I don't have the big platform like people think I do. You know what I mean? Like I have followers, yes, but it's not a big platform compared to like a 10K, you know.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of these, not everybody. I don't want to like shit on everybody, but like when you see some of these that are just kind of pouring themselves out for attention, I don't like that because it's like, well, fuck. I'm not going to be seen because I'm not going to do that, you know? So, like, I try to be authentic, but it sucks when you're in this, like, gig.
Yeah. Okay, so now for the record, Obscure Orations whores themselves out, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Want to make that for the record.
We have respect for ourselves. That's the difference. Like,
I was going to say, yes,
Yes.
we beg and plead and say, please follow us so that we can just get to 1,000.
yeah.
And I mean, even last week we talked about it with one of my wives, Shane, when he was on, and we've talked about it before, where it's like the grind is real to try and get followers, but to not do it in a way that feels like you're selling yourself short. And I mean, it works for some people. Some people want to do it certain ways where they're like, okay, they want to base it off of whatever they think is their greatest asset. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I got cleavage, but it's not coming out to me like Horations, Horations.
Sometimes when I wear like a low cut shirt, I'm looking at the camera. I'm like, can you see? You see my boobie? You know, because it's like it's uncomfortable because people do watch your shit. You know, and I'm like, I don't want people to assume that that's the type of person that I am, because I'm not.
Yeah.
But
And
like,
then every time you go live, you got like 50 male followers hoping to catch the cleavage shot.
Yep.
and that's the thing. Like, I have a decent following, but a lot of those people don't. Like, I still haven't found more of like my people, like the extreme horror.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of people will include me in their follow Fridays, but a lot of those people don't ever interact with my stuff because they're from a different genre. They're just like, oh,
Yeah.
you're funny and you're nice. That's what we follow you. And I'm like, well, thanks. you know, it'd be
That's so
nice.
sweet.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to find like a little bit. It's hard to find women readers in like the
Yeah.
extreme and splatter.
Yes.
I find them in the horror section, like, you know, like the Stephen Kings, like the Nick
Yeah.
Cutters, still horror, but not extreme. It takes a certain type of woman to enjoy that stuff, which I understand. You know what I mean? Like, it is definitely isn't for everybody, but I would like my following to be more of those types of people and not, you know, I have a lot of dark romance girlies and I'll like their stuff, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to read that, but if you say it's good, then I'll support you type thing. Right. But
That's always the hard part when you're like, okay, you're searching for your people. And I mean, it's great to have the support from other people who are like, oh, well, we follow you because you're nice. And you're like, well, thank you. Thank you for noticing that in me. I appreciate that greatly. Then you're like, but do you want to talk about skin melting off of a person's face? No?
right?
Darn. Like, you're kind of like, well, that was a little bit of a letdown. Okay, I guess. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
like
it
it's
it goes into one of those niches where I always use the example of friendships where I have different friends for different things. Like, I have one friend who, no word of a lie, I knew absolutely nothing about him other than his name was John and that he lived in Canada. That
woo.
was all I knew. And we had added each other on Facebook because of another mutual friend who I didn't know much about either. And we added each other, and all we talked about was Star Wars. That was it.
I love that.
For like legitimately years, that's all we were to each other. It's like, oh yeah, well, we can talk Star Wars. Now we know more about each other because after a while it's like, where do you live in Canada? What do you do for work? Like, I started asking him actual questions. He's like,
What's your last name?
and he was like, oh, yeah, what about you? And it's like, okay, so now we know a lot more about each other and we talk about all sorts of different things. But it just made me laugh where I'm like, we were very much like, this is the corner that we're in, and it is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because in my case, and I mean, when we have James on, I'm sure I'll get more into the details of it. But when it comes to Star Wars stuff, finding your people is very difficult because you have people who are, like you said, into the, like, we'll say the lighter ring of it. Where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, they know the movies. Then you get like the next one out where you're like, okay, they're the movies and the TV shows now. Then you get like one further out and you're like, the movies, the TV shows, video games, and then like books. And then the hardcore ones where I'm at, where it's like, okay, I love all of those things plus the old expanded universe. So when you find the people who fit all of that and they're like, yeah, you know the old expanded universe lore? And you're like, yeah, do you? And I go, oh my God, we just became best friends.
Yeah, I just thought about
But
that.
you have to look so hard to find those where you're like, are we in the black market now? We found our quiet little dark corner over here in the interwebs.
Okay,
And it's the
so
same thing for that.
Mm-hmm.
great example. Last night we're playing cards.
Oh God.
And I had got kicked out of the game early, so I was looking at my phone, and I said to Danielle, I'm like, "Oh look, Howard Jones is coming to the Coliseum." So if you grew up in the 80s, you know who Howard Jones is. Said, "Oh, Howard Jones is coming to the Coliseum. We should go because like we're 80s kids, right?"
Mm-hmm.
My mom, like for no reason, just like looks at me and she's like, when did you start liking Michael?" This is how she said his name. Boob, boob, Bubbly. I'm like, Buble? She's like, I said his name right. You didn't. I'm like, and I'm looking at her like, because I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, what? She's like, well, you saw, so Michael Bublé is coming to the Coliseum. She goes, and you said you were interested. I'm like, I like his singing. Since when? Because my family sees me as the Typo Negative, Metallica, hard rock person, right? I can't like Michael Bublé. And Danielle, who's sitting down at the end of the table, she's like, "Don't you have him on your iPod?" I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, it's perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
People see you and they know one thing about you, and that's their perception of you. But when they open the next door and they find out that it's a whole different door and a whole different universe, they're like, what the fuck? You know?
That's, I would say, and just as within that tangent of, because it was your mom who did it, it's very much a mother thing where you're like, this is what my kids like I know them the best kind of thing. And I laugh at my mom all the time because I'll put on different music and she's like, what is this shit? She's like, you don't listen to this. I'm like, obviously I do. You just saw me singing it.
Right?
And so that's it's like, if I didn't listen to it, why would I know the lyrics to this? And she's like, the fuck, when did you get into this? I'm like, I don't know, like a decade and a half ago. It's like, just like my I would say my heavy metal taste is what she's like, since when do you like that? I'm like, I've liked it for almost 20 years. And here you go. Like I play, for anyone who's listening, like, In This Moment, one of my favorite fucking bands. Then because I made friends when I was younger who were over in Europe, I got introduced to Epica and Nightwish. They're two of my favorites, and I just absolutely fucking adore them and love them. So I listen to the music and I'm like, just fucking bouncing around as I'm doing it. And my mom's like, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, you don't know everything.
Rammstein.
Yes.
Like, I can't believe the number of people that look at me and like, you like Rammstein? I'm like, yeah. But they sing in German.
So?
Yeah. But it sounds fucking angry and I love it. And there, again, Mom heard me singing Johnny Cash. Since when do you sing Johnny Cash? I'm like, I love Johnny Cash. You only like Johnny Cash because your dad liked Johnny Cash. I'm like, no, I love Johnny Cash because Dad forced me to listen to Johnny Cash and I learned to love him. It's a huge difference.
I would say that's exactly it. Like you get into these, like you said, like these little areas where people think that there's no other doors going into other things, and you're like, there's a whole house in here, like it's a mansion. So like, if you open that door, splatterpunk.
Well, and that's the thing. So for splatterpunk, I never knew what it was. Mm-hmm. And then like V and I reconnected on TikTok and she's doing all these videos and I'm like, what is this splatterpunk?
What is this splatterpunk you speak of?
So we have a conversation and I'm like, tell me more. And she tells me about it, and I read a book, and I'm like, this is fucking amazing. And then and you may remember this conversation, but like I said to her, I go, I think I like splatterpunk, but I didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Because about 20 years ago, I read a book that was so fucking brutal and disgusting. And if I could remember the title of the book and the author, I probably would buy it. It was that good. And it was 5 guys who, all professionals, lawyer, doctor, policeman, judge, that did these obscene crimes.
Oh.
To the point where, and the one that stuck in my head, they did a home invasion, and this is a trigger warning. The graphic depiction of beheading the mother, and then the one guy fucking her while the other guy uses her head and gets a blowjob from her.
Oh, skull fucking.
And that's when I realized I liked splatterpunk 20 years ago. I just didn't know what it was.
I do this.
She's like, I've been here before.
And I'm not fucking crazy. Because I'm not even lying to you guys. I thought I made that book up in my fucking head.
I wonder if it's like Ed Lee. Because Ed Lee is like an OG, and his one book, I haven't read it, but I've seen the movie, and I'm like, whoa.
There's movies?
They just also like.
This one was made into a movie. It's called Header, and I think the book is called Header or The Big Head. I can't remember. One of the two. But Ed Lee is one of those like original splatterpunk authors that's from like the 80s. He's been writing them. Richard Lehman's another one. He's a big like original author. Wrath James White is another one. Like they've
why does that name sound familiar? That Richard Lehman.
He's very, very popular. You might have read it. I know Karen, and I don't know if you guys know Jer Books on TikTok. Those two are really good buddies with like Richard Lehman work. Like Karen loves his stuff. So I'm wondering if maybe it was a Richard Lehman book that you read, because he's got a bunch from like the late 80s, early 90s that were like that. He was one
and that's when I would have read it, probably like early 90s. I'd say 90, 91, 92 time frame.
I'm wondering if it might be him.
You know what's sad now is that in my head when you said like 20 years ago, I'm like, oh, like 80s. Then it just dawned on me. I'm like, no, 20 years ago would have been mid 2000s. Like, oh,
sad.
Just broke my own damn heart where I'm like,
the 80s is like ancient now.
Yep, it's that moment where they're going, oh, 80s is like 40 plus years ago, son of a bitch.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, it's that stupid depiction in my timeline in my head where I'm like, 20 years, like 80s. Wait. 20 years is 2000 plus another 20. Oh my god.
The scrolling is getting longer now. Anytime you have to add the scroll, I'm like, okay.
I feel like I'm spinning the wheel of time. Fuck you all. I'm like so far down the list.
I was say basically it's Mama every time that she does it. She was it just last night she was yelling at me because I was like, oh my god, you're I looked at her, I was like, yeah, you're so old, you're 54, and she's like, I am 53, and I was like, you're 53 for like 2 more weeks. She's like, I am 50.
It matters at that age, trust me.
Look at it, 2 long weeks.
She's like, 2 weeks.
I technically forgot how old I was there. That one podcast that we did.
Yes, you did. You're like, how old am I? Yeah, I think that was just last week. When was it?
With Ryan. This poor guy, his name's Shane, and maybe I'm psychic and I don't even know how to harness my powers. Taylor tells me about Shane, uses his name repeatedly,
and then the one day, it's always been Shane.
And then the one day I send her a message on Messenger. I'm like, "So is Ryan going to be on the show?" And she's like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?"
Who's Ryan?
And I'm like, "Ryan, your friend." She's like, "Shane." I'm like, "Okay, sorry, I got his name." She's like, "How did you know he had a brother named Ryan?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't even know the guy. I don't know who he is."
The best part was the first message she sent me used the name Ryan 3 times.
I was so confident.
And she was like, "Okay, so when Ryan gets on the show, we're going to talk to him about this, but maybe you should talk to Ryan about the GoFundMe page. And hey, did you talk to Ryan about this?" I'm sitting there like, who the fuck is Ryan? And she's like, "Ryan, the guy who's coming on the podcast in 2 weeks." I'm like, Shane? His name is Shane?
Like, what goes off?
And then multiple conversations afterwards. The best was when I talked to last Saturday. I called her to talk about what we've decided to do, and we'll be doing probably, I don't know, another promo for it or something. We haven't figured that stuff out yet, but we will. You're all working through it with us. But talked about making more content. And as we're talking about, she's like, "Okay, so tomorrow, Ryan, Shane."
At least you caught yourself that time, though.
And then she tells me, she's like, "I've been practicing every day, and I have said Shane every day." She's like, "And then I'm talking to you, and I fucking say Ryan."
And I did that at the beginning of the podcast. I'm like, "Listen, I'm going to apologize now because I can't even say I'm not going to call you another name."
You okay, Ryan?
And he just laughed hysterically. He's like, "It's amazing because Tay told me that you don't even know that I have a brother named Ryan." I'm like, "Right? It's amazing. It's hilarious." I was like, the sheer likelihood of that was like 1 in a million.
You have to take it somewhere so you can like improve your powers.
Right? I got to figure out what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, it's not gonna be anything.
We need lottery numbers. God damn it, we need lottery numbers.
Yeah, but you're gonna be like, "I found the winning lottery numbers in India."
That's okay. Hey, V.
Mm-hmm.
We win the lottery. We're buying a castle in Scotland if you and Mom want to move with us.
Yes.
Yes. I like that it's going to be, she's winning the lottery, but we're going to be doing it from Canada in India, but we're going to buy a house in Scotland.
Yes, I love that.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like on TikTok and I'm scrolling through like real estate TikToks and I find this castle in Scotland. I send it to Taylor. I'm like, "It's for sale. It's only $650,000
for an entire castle."
Not bad.
Like it was like a 15-bedroom castle and it had a fucking library in it.
Ooh. In this economy, that's a great price.
Right?
It's like, you can pay $600,000 for a little shit shack here, or $650 whatever over in Scotland, and get an entire fucking castle to yourself plus land.
Well, Norm's like, "Where are you getting $650,000? I'm like, we can sell this house."
Yeah, the moment where you're like, "Do you know how much money? Legitimately, your house could rake in so much money right now off this damn market. You'd be able to." We're moving to Scotland.
Pack your bags, get the cats. We're going.
Tell the cats to learn a Scottish accent when they meow.
Imagine.
Meow.
Little kilt for them.
Their little hats on. I think we've degenerated enough in this conversation. This is where we should bring a halt to the recording.
Oh.
Our listeners are going to be like, "What the fuck happened at the end?" We don't know. We're sorry.
We tend to wander, but it's a good thing.
We're all getting excited for tonight's new season beginning of House of the Dragon.
Is it started at 10?
9.
I was going to say, I thought it was 9.
9.
Even better.
Whew, thank God, because I switched to day shift tomorrow.
Do
Ooh.
you?
Yep. So that would not have made for a happy me tomorrow. Go to bed at 11. Oh my God. And then this happened. And then this happened. And then this happened. Oh,
Yeah, because you know you're not going to be able to sleep after it.
Yeah.
no, I need to drug myself afterwards because I'll be too excited. Going,
I'm
We'll see how many years they age in between season 1 and season 2. This is Norm and I rewatched season 1, and I'm like, what? They've aged like 10 years in one episode, from episode 5 to
5 to
episode
6.
6. Like, I'm like, the fuck.
I would say they legitimately. I would say that is exactly. I think it's. Can't remember if it's only 10 years or if it's more than 10 years. I think it was like 13 years that they were supposed to age between the mid-season part, because they're like, okay, they're like nothing.
Hard to tell.
They're like nothing fun happens in here. They get older. They have children now. Now the fun stuff begins at this point in time. They're like,
Yeah.
fuck them middle years, and you're like, I would have liked a few more middle years.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I like that, but I'm just excited. I'm so excited.
Me too.
Oh,
I didn't
I'm excited.
I was gonna rewatch this season, but I didn't. So, but I think I might rewatch like at least like the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, I would say my
Highly recommend it.
Yep, I would say we started it yesterday. We'll finish up the season today, and then just go right into season 2, and we'll remember everything, so that we'll be ready, and then I'll be ready for recording more content for us this week.
Yes, because we're going to record like a 15-minute episode
Review
recap
sort
of season 2 episode 1.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And then every week for however many, what is it? What are they going to
10.
do? 8, 10?
Well, wait, no. I think the
I think
season's
it's
only supposed to be 8.
Yeah, I think they cut out 2 episodes for us. That's why
Yeah.
everybody was mad when they told us that.
Yes.
Okay, so for the next 8 weeks, we'll have like little snippets for each episode.
That's fun. I like
So maybe you can join us for some of them.
They're gonna be like, V, do you have 20 minutes?
I absolutely love them. I can't wait.
I'm gonna go try to find that movie. What was that guy's name? Lehman?
Richard Lehman.
Richard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking Robert. I would have been close. Yeah, I you know what? I'm gonna look him up, and I have a feeling. I just have this feeling that was the guy that wrote that book. And if I can find that book, you're fucking right. I'm gonna send it to you guys so you can read it, because it is like splatterpunk gold. I'm not even kidding you.
I know Richard Lehman is an original author, like an older author. Rat James White, Jack Ketchum is another one that's very popular still. There's another original one I can't remember, but it might have been one of those, because especially Richard Lehman, because Karen has an extensive like collection of his, and her and Jared talk about him all the time, saying that, like, you know, read the original guy if you love extreme and splatter. I haven't read anything of Richard's yet, but it's definitely on my list, because I'm like, it sounds good. Like, I mean, it's nice to read like where the genre actually came from.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Wrath is one of my favorites. I read a lot of his, and it's weird because he makes like cannibalism sound so beautiful,
so
like,
yummy.
Yeah, I read my first book of his, Succulent Prey, and I think that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I read it for the first time last year, and it blew my mind. It really, I'm like, I never thought, like, there's recipes in there. There's 2 recipes of like human, you know, like, oh yeah, it's intense.
suddenly you're like, and now all I'm thinking in my mind is I can remember seeing, can't remember if it was TikTok or if it was on Facebook, where the hell it was. But within the last month, there was actually like an interview with cannibals, and they're like, okay, yeah, if ever you come across a cannibal and you want to switch them to not cannibalism, Spam is the closest thing to human taste and texture. And that's how they get them to come back. It's like,
Fucking spam.
It's like suddenly there's questions about spam. It's like, the fuck this made with?
Yeah, it's weird.
Dana's like,
I'm like, oh. That's my favorite trope to
Okay.
read.
So in Sault Ste. Marie, I don't know, Sault Ste. Marie thing, they have like their own little version of spam, and it's called Click.
I think I've heard of that.
And the last time Norm and I were in Sault Ste. Marie, like when we were finalizing everything for emptying out his mom's house and that, he bought a can, and him and Brendan had breakfast, and Norm used the Click. No.
Dana's suddenly like,
I'm wondering if my husband has a taste for human flesh.
Here we all thought it was you that was the danger. Turns out it's Norm.
It was Norm.
And he's giving it to my boy.
He's like, this is the way of things, son.
I mean, they have gone mattress shopping, so now stopping for lunch.
Yeah, certainly you're like, where'd you get this meat from? It tastes really fresh.
Okay, on that note.
Now that we talked about cannibalism.
Yeah, I'm gonna, once I get everything done with this episode and get it posted, I am definitely gonna look up that guy, because yeah, I am
She's
so
like, I'm
convinced at
determined.
this point.
You're
So
determined you're gonna find it.
Yeah, and if you have any questions on him, I know, like I said, Karen is like, she's a big Richard Lehman fan. She loves him. And I know she dealt with a fire and stuff, so she lost a lot of her books, but she's slowly collecting them back. And like, I know, like, she's like, I need all of his again, because that was her original entryway into extreme. So I'm like, all right. Yeah.
Her first love, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, well, thank you for being with us, V, for this wonderful episode. We love having you on, and we hope to have you on numerous more times.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to our listeners/watchers. You guys are amazing. Follow us. We're not creeps. We're not bots.
We're not bots.
We're good people.
And we will.
We promise.
Again, next week we have a guest on. Her name is Rebecca, and she owns a haunted wedding venue. So we're going to get the paranormal skinny on that. So have a good week. And yeah, for all you fathers out there in Canada, it's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's
Bye.
Day, guys.
Bye.